170 that have been imposed on us, which have nothing to do with biology, anatomy or genetics. And it is proposed that the person can be sexually what he wants or feels he is without imposition from anyone. Simply put, your biological sex is not the same as your gender. You can be biologically and physically a male, but if you do not perceive yourself as such, then you will be what you identify with. Biological sex does not determine gender. That is to say, although biologically, anatomically, genetically you are identified with one of the two sexes, man or woman, you can define yourself as you please, because, according to this, no one has the right to impose on you how you will behave sexually. And they want to force us to have everyone recognize you with that gender identity and treat you that way. From all this a whole series of classifications is derived that are actually infinite: heterosexual man or woman, homosexual man or woman, bisexual, transsexual, agender, fluid gender and even transspecies. These ideas have filtered down, sometimes slowly, and sometimes blatantly, through politics, education, entertainment, etc. The other day I saw a free market commercial that showed people moving around that you couldn't tell if they were men or women, and when they met they seemed to exchange their clothes. The one who looked more like a man kept the clothes of the one who looked more like a woman. And at the end of the commercial he says, "Today we celebrate a world without labels. That is why we launched a genderless fashion category." Here we see this lie repeated in creative ways. There are no categories, gender is something we decide. Our gender is not defined at birth, it is something that we can build to our liking and measure. But we have to go to the light of the word of the Lord and see if God has granted us this supposed right to assign ourselves the gender we want or to practice our sexuality as we please. We have to go to the beginning of all things. And the first verse of Scripture in Genesis 1:1 says, "God in the beginning created the heavens and the earth." This is how the history of the universe begins. Start with God. He has existed forever, he has no beginning or end, but in a moment that was the beginning of history, he created the heavens and the earth. The fact that God created everything in heaven and earth, including us as a human race, establishes a very important distinction that we must never remove from the center of this entire discussion. God is the creator and we are his creation. The fact of having been created establishes that the creator is the one who invented, established and arranged the parameters of his creation. The creator is the one who defines us, not ourselves. The creator is the one who has the right over his creation. Creation does not have the right to define itself or decide what it wants to be. Its essence is defined by the creator. 771 And throughout the Bible that distinction between the creator and the creation is maintained. God never cedes his rights to anyone. He is the king whose will must be done in heaven and on earth, because everything was created by him and by his power subsists. God is the creator and inventor of humanity, and he made us beings with well-defined sexes and leaving nothing in ambiguity, or for human inventiveness or imagination. Since we have a creator and we are his creation, we are subject to the creator's original plan and design for its creation. But Genesis 1 says something else. In Genesis 1:26 it says, "Let us make human beings in our image and likeness. May he have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, on domestic animals, on wild animals, and on all creeping things that crawl on the ground." This puts things more into perspective. What is the human being? He is the image of God. He was made in the image and likeness of God. Other beings were created according to their kind, but the human being was made with God as a model. And he was placed on the earth to administer it, having direction over all beings on the earth. The very fact of having been created in the image of God tells us, from the outset, two things. 1. That we cannot understand our life and identity apart from God. We are image